You all come out with this vibe of this big, strong, like I've got my stuff together. And hearing the personal stories behind some of their struggles has been really impactful for the people who follow them and who are influenced by them. And so my hope is to help fight that stigma and get people sharing their stories, because when you share that vulnerability, it creates space for others to be vulnerable and hopefully ask for the help that they need. There's no shame in saying, like, I'm not okay. Like, it's so cliche, but it is okay to not be okay. What's not okay is not to ask for help.
Hi, my name's Rob Scott. I'm with Legends Boxing, and this is another episode of Legends Boxing podcast where I've got a special guest with me today. Her name is Haley, and she comes from the Be Better Utah Foundation, and we're excited to learn a little bit more about your cause and what you do and why you do it and why it makes sense for Legends Boxing to interview you. I have been looking forward to this episode because I think that it's not often that we put mental health and combat sports together when it's so unified. It makes perfect sense, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today as to why it makes perfect sense and how important it is and all of those things. So before I get into that, do you mind telling me a little bit about yourself so the audience can get to know you a little bit more, and then we'll talk about your company after that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Haley Estelle. I'm the founder and board president of the Be Better Utah Foundation. And we founded last year in an effort to make mental health care more accessible to Utahns across the state through all communities. So we raise money to help people pay for their mental health services. And I'm super excited to be here and talk about FightCon and how we're sort of spreading that message with combat sports and mental health and how the two are related and how we can hopefully make strides in getting people the help that they need when they need it.
Great. Yeah, so you mentioned FightCon. That's part of the reason why we're here today is because Be Better Utah is going to be at our event, FightCon, that Legends is a big sponsor of and a big part of. It's been a vision of myself and Legends to put on something like FightCon. And again, we wanted to bring awareness, and we talked to a lot of nonprofits, and we've had some success with Operation Underground Railroad on bringing awareness and raising some funds for such a worthy cause. And we knew that if we were going to put together a platform like FightCon, that we needed another worthy cause and another foundation that we feel would match and mirror our core values. And we believe that Be Better Utah definitely does that. So give me the history of Be Better Utah. Where did it start? Where did you start? Give me a little bit of your personal journey, if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah. So my mental health journey started quite a long time ago. I was in a position where I couldn't get therapy because I couldn't afford it. This is many years ago. And so as my life sort of cycled through and things changed, my husband and I decided to open up a mental health clinic. And through that process, we noticed a lot of folks that would maybe schedule appointments, but then cancel or no-show because they couldn't afford the out-of-pocket cost or they couldn't afford their co-pays, which was so reflective of the experience that I went through years and years ago as a single mom. And so it came to me, as this idea, like there's money out there and people want to help. And so let's see if we can start this nonprofit and raise money to get people the help that they need through therapy. So that's really where we started. The broader vision obviously is going to bring in a little bit more to help our clinicians out, to create an industry where our clinicians are actually thriving. We have enough representation within our community to serve those in need. So yeah, it's just a huge passion of mine. Therapy changed my life. It saved my life. It changed the path that me and my kids were on. And I want to be able to do that for the communities that are here. I don't think that anybody should have to suffer alone or feel like there's something wrong with them because they need help. And if asking for help, if they can't afford it, like that's not a good enough reason. Like, come to us, let us help fundraise for you, and we'll get you the help that you need.
I love that. I, too, have a very personal story with therapy. I had a gentleman by the name of Bob Smith that helped me out when I was 15 years old and donated his time and his talents to kind of help a struggling young version of myself. And I've never forgotten that. He was very instrumental in my growth and development and confidence. And I think that's how it relates to boxing and to combat sports, and why mental health is so important, right? I think that people need outlets, and I've got a few personal stories about that, but I'd like to hear your perspective as to why you feel like mental health and combat sports and therapy and all, how they would intertwine. What's your opinion?
Yeah, so combat sports, really any physical activity, but especially combat sports and through gyms and places where you're building community, you're not just building community, but you're building mental resilience, you're building strength, you're building perseverance, and all of that is really important for mental strength. And so you kind of get the baseline for that through the combat sports initiatives, and I love the community that you guys have here at Legends. I think that that's incredible. You've got a place to go. People can share their stories and really practice that resiliency. Therapy is sort of complementary to that. It dives a little bit deeper into the emotional, mental states. So you can get it out, on the mat, but then maybe you need to process a little bit more. And those licensed clinicians are there to help talk through some of that stuff that maybe you can't work out on the mat. But that resiliency is very complementary between both therapy or any mental health modality. Therapy isn't always for everybody. Maybe you need to find community, or maybe you're looking for a deeper treatment, neurofeedback treatment, something like that for traumatic brain injuries. All of that stuff sort of comes together to build the mental strength that people need to get through the day or the year or the month or whatever it is that they're going through.
Yeah, I agree. I think my personal experience with family members is that having a purpose and doing something hard, but seeing a reward helps people stay healthy mentally. And I love seeing things like that. I see it daily with boxing, combat sports, other things. There's a professional fighter named Court McGee that speaks all over the country, and he has a wrestling background. He had a drug addiction problem and went through some hard times, and then decided he was done, had a life-ending experience, and never looked back and changed his entire stars. And his story is incredible. There's hundreds of stories like that where people struggle with substances, they struggle with mental illnesses, they struggle with different things, and they use other ways to cope. And then when they get involved in something like combat sports, and my personal opinion as to why it works so well is that physical exertion, and that, when you think about when you're really angry at something, you're just mad, we tend to have an exertion, right? We punch something, we yell, we do something. So I think what boxing does and other combat sports is that you're being proactive with that, right? You're hitting something every day. You're kind of creating balance in your life by doing a hard activity. You're sweating, you're pushing yourself, but you're around other people that are doing that with you. And then you create a reason to show up every day. You develop a relationship with a coach. You develop a relationship with other members, with teammates. It kind of can grow from there. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And then you add in therapy. It can really help somebody become very well-rounded.
Yeah, all of those things that you talk about, homelessness, substance abuse, the underlying issue there is mental health. And so to have an outlet and to find a passion outside of those things to help you cope is great. Combat sports is an amazing way to do that. Outside of the ring, off the mat, how are we coping? And I think therapy helps give people those skills outside of the ring. I'm sure it carries over, right? You learn how to kind of self-regulate and emotionally regulate, and maybe not turn to those things that are numbing to take your mind off of it. You're going out and you're doing combat sports. You're talking with your therapist or a trusted loved one and getting all of that out and learning some real coping mechanisms to get you through life. It's super important. It's a slippery slope to go down. Substance abuse leads into all sorts of other issues. And if we can catch people before they get to that point, suicide rates here are super high. Substance abuse rates here are super high. There's not enough therapists to go around. There's not enough money to go around to get people the help that they need. But that underlying issue is mental health. And so if there are outlets, in my opinion, therapy is just one thing. To truly heal and go through the healing process, it's a whole body experience. You've got to have maybe the talk therapy, but also an activity, whether it's combat sports or yoga, something that gives you drive and gives you a reason to wake up in the morning, and you have that goal and something you're working toward. I love that combat sports gives that for folks, and I'm super excited to be part of this mission with you guys to empower people to really find their power inside themselves to help them live healthy lives.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad that somebody like yourself is doing something about it. I think one of the issues is I think there's a lot of people in this world that would love to help people. Like they find joy in helping people, but they don't necessarily know what to do, right? You make a Facebook post or share a meme, and now you felt like you've done some good in the world, which is a start, right? But at the end of the day, how do we really make an impact on people's lives, right? And so I think organizations like yours creates a platform and a way for people to contribute and help and volunteer and donate and get involved when they truly want to see a change in our society, a change in people. So with your foundation, it's relatively new. Talk a little bit about, where it started, how, what's the next steps, what are the goals, what do you plan to do with FightCon and with the platforms that we're using?
Yeah, so it's really a cool space to see some of these athletes coming out and talking about their mental health struggles. You all come out with this vibe of this big, strong, like I've got my stuff together. And hearing the personal stories behind some of their struggles has been really impactful for the people who follow them and who are influenced by them. And so my hope is to help fight that stigma and get people sharing their stories, because when you share that vulnerability, it creates space for others to be vulnerable and hopefully ask for the help that they need. There's no shame in saying, like, I'm not okay. Like, it's so cliche, but it is okay to not be okay. What's not okay is not to ask for help. And so I would love to create a space where people are sharing their stories, to invite others to share theirs so that we can identify those areas where we can help. So through our organization, obviously, we do fundraising. Our goal this year is to raise $250,000 that will fund 2,000 therapy sessions, which is for about 170 people. Once we hit that goal, I'm super excited to start initiating scholarships for our clinicians. A lot of clinicians have to go through CEUs, continuing education units, and those get really expensive. And our clinicians aren't paid great in the state of Utah. Our average salary is about $50 an hour. So if we can offer scholarships for them to help them continue their education, to meet their professional goals, keep them in the industry so that they can serve the community to the best of their ability, that's one huge thing that I'm super excited to kick off next year, along with scholarships for master's level programs for those folks who maybe couldn't typically afford it. We're offering $10,000 scholarships through that fund. Again, that'll kick off next year once we build our client access fund. One of the other pillars that's really important to me through the foundation is building strong communities, which is, again, why I'm so excited to be partnering with Legends and FightCon. The communities you create here are incredible. I would love to be able to create programming for communities around Utah where we have community gardens or gathering places for people who are maybe struggling to have that space to connect with people who are maybe also going through it. I know in my journey with mental health, there are times, so I'll just share my diagnosis with you. I have complex PTSD, depression and anxiety, and I've struggled with that for years and years, and it took me a really long time to figure out what was going to work for me. I did talk therapy. I'm still in talk therapy. Shout out to my therapist in Phoenix. She's fantastic. Been with her for 8 years. I did ketamine infusion therapy for treatment-resistant depression. I've tried red light therapy, and have finally gotten to a space where, like, I feel even keel and great. And not every day is beautiful, but I know that I can get through it. But there are times when you're really going through that struggle with depression and suicidal ideation that you just feel so alone. And there's nobody to turn to. Even though there are people around you, you don't believe that. And so I want to help fight that. I want to get to those folks before they get to that point by building strong communities through partnerships with Legends, by building community gardens. So we'll be creating funds and initiatives around building community, because that is a pillar that's really important to create a support network for people who are struggling so that they don't feel alone.
I love that. I admire that. I think that sometimes we get caught up in our own issues, which are valid, and we feel alone and we feel that we can't do much more. And what I admire about you is that you've taken something that you've struggled with and that has been a hard part of your life, and now you're turning it into a strength where you can help other people, you can relate to other people. This isn't lip service. This is real life things that you've dealt with. And now, how do I give back to the world? How do I help those that have been in the position that I've been in and probably still struggle with from time to time? It's not something that just goes away. It's something that you battle with forever. And I think that, again, to relate it to combat sports and Legends and our shows, is that it's those are also things that you don't just master it. You don't ever become perfect at it. You're always learning and growing and developing and getting better. And when things get harder and you learn and you push yourself more, that's similar to mental health, right? Like you're going to have good days and bad days, but if you have a core foundation of, I have a plan in place that when I'm not feeling great, that I can go to the gym, I can go hit bags, I can go be around my tribe of people. And now you've created an insulated support system, maybe not intentionally, but happens as a result of showing up and doing something. I've heard a lot of stories because boxing is not necessarily, it has an intimidation factor, right? Like when you drive by a boxing gym and you see a boxing sign, it's not normally just somebody goes, oh, I want to go do that, right? Because there's a little bit of fear involved. And so we've tried to make boxing as welcoming and as inviting as possible. And we want to teach anybody that's willing to learn, right? Rather than making it an intimidating, scary place, we wanted to make it a welcoming place. And that's where the tribe comes in. And so we've heard lots of stories, hundreds, thousands of stories probably over the years where people were so nervous to come and try it and they needed something in their life. They didn't know what it was, but then they walk through the doors, they get greeted by somebody that cares about them, and now they show up for that hard class. They realize it wasn't as bad as they thought it was. They got a lot of value out of it, and they become some of our best members because now they feel like they have a purpose. They want to share this gift that they got in learning how to box, the confidence that comes with it, the tribe that comes with it, and the skill that they're developing. You add all those things together and it becomes infectious. You know, we joke about it at Legends that you kind of drink the Kool-Aid because people start to really eat, drink, and breathe Legends. And I can see why, right? Like when you start to feel good, you want to always feel good. You want to go to those places that remind you of what feeling good is like. And a lot of times when you're struggling with mental health issues, whatever they are, sometimes you just need a reminder of what it feels like to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you touch on that. My idea around mental health support, we're treating individuals and we're treating families at that micro level, but it truly does have a macro level change. The way that they're interacting with the community around them changes, and it influences the way that the people work around them. And I see that reflected in the boxing gyms, exactly what you're talking about. It happens in therapy as well. I experienced it firsthand when I finally found that good fit therapist, changed the way I interacted with my children and how they interacted with me and how they interacted with the world around them. And now they're grown and they're off on their own and they're doing incredible things. And I truly relate that to getting the support that I needed when I needed it and having a community around me. Because I share my story pretty openly. I want people to feel comfortable in sharing with me or whomever they feel safe with, because then we know that you need help. And then the community can gather around you and lift you up and maybe just give you that push that you need to find your own power and make it through whatever hard time it is. Just like boxing, healing is not a linear journey. Some days are better than others, but every step that you take is a step forward. You might take a step back here and there, but you always have that forward trajectory as long as you know what path you're on. And we're here to help people find that path for sure. We definitely are looking for volunteers in that regard. We just started out, so we need help with marketing and social media, obviously fundraising, things like that. But I would love to build a community around the Be Better Utah Foundation so that we can positively impact those communities and create maybe statewide changes and change some of those statistics around substance abuse and suicide here.
Yeah, I love the mission and the goal. So part of making this aware to the general public and to the combat sports community is you're going to be at FightCon. You're going to have a booth. Tell me a little bit about what some of your goals are there and how you're going to be accessible to the public and to the fans and people that show up to that event. Yeah,
so we'll be at FightCon. I'm forgetting the booth number now that we're talking about it. 315, 316, something like that. But I'm really excited to be able to connect with the folks that are attending, the fighters, the coaches, the fans, and start having these dialogues and these conversations. At our booth, we'll have a strength wall where I'm inviting people to share just a little bit about how they're fighting for their mental health, how they're fighting for their mental strength. And that board will be on display for the duration of the expo. It provides inspiration to people. You'd be shocked at how many folks, when I've done this in the past, stop by and take a picture and say, thank you. This is something similar, and this is a tool that might work for me. We'll also have wellness workshops, quick stress relief techniques through meditation or breath work, things to help cope in the moment, kind of when you're going through stuff. So we'll have things like that. We also will have a raffle for snow basin ski passes. So anybody who stops by the booth, participates in one of our events, or makes a donation to us will be entered into that raffle. We are actively running our 494 campaign. That campaign is to acknowledge the 49.4% of Utahns that need mental health care but can't afford it. And so $494, it's not a whole lot of money, but it does go a long way collectively. So yeah, I'm really excited to kind of bring awareness to mental health and relate that back to combat sports and get people talking about it so that folks know that, hey, everybody's going through something and it's okay to put it out there and it's okay to ask for help. And we have resources available. We help place people with therapists. We help figure out what questions to ask. What help do you really need? And so, yeah, I'm just excited to engage with folks in a different way. You know, combat sports and mental health, I've had people go, what are you doing? It's like, no, these two things go together. You can't just treat the mind. You've got to treat the body too, and you've got to have conversations about it.
Yeah, it's so true. Combat sports, mental health, being proactive with your mental health. I love the 494. It allows anybody that wants to contribute and be a part of it, makes it very simple. So people can stop by your booth, they can donate and help somebody, right? It starts going towards a pool of being able to help one person at a time. And, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to start building blocks and planting seeds, and small amounts will lead to other amounts. And I think that allows anybody attending to be able to participate and make a change. So if you're coming to FightCon, make sure that you do stop by the booth and see if you can contribute in some way, even just bringing awareness and making a post about how other people can donate. And I think that's going to be effective. One of the visions that I had when putting FightCon together and why I wanted Be Better Utah to be a part of this is FightCon to me and the businesses that I'm involved in is all about community, as you mentioned earlier, creating a tribe. And the vision for FightCon is in combat sports. As a boxer, I always think boxing is the best combat sport, and MMA guys think MMA is the best sport, and karate and judo, they all individually think their sport's the best sport, and all sports are great. I love all of them. And what I wanted to do is create a place where we can unite, strengthen, and empower each other. It's not a competition necessarily other than a healthy one, but we're all in this fight. And then I started thinking more about that, and I go, you know, just because I'm a boxer or somebody else is a fighter of some other discipline doesn't make me any better or worse than anybody else. There are people out there fighting every day for different things. Some people are fighting obesity. Some people are fighting drug addiction. Some people are fighting loneliness. Some people are fighting mental health. So the big vision behind FightCon is we want to make sure that no matter who you are, what you are, whatever your walk of life is, that you're a fighter for a day. When you come in, you're joining the fight. You're a fighter, you're part of the tribe, you're part of the community. And I see mental health being such a big part of that. And that's why I really wanted your program to be a part of this, because as we build FightCon and we start creating that community and we start including people, I don't want the meathead style of combat sports where you make people feel small. I want people that have created strength and discipline in their combat sports to empower others that may not feel that way. And when they walk through the doors at FightCon, you're going to feel like you belong there no matter what your background is. And that because you're fighting, we're all fighting, I want to make sure that we all support each other. And I think your foundation really plants the seed for that. And it's such a perfect fit for us. So I'm excited to have you guys there. I'm excited to bring awareness for it. And I think that your mission and your goals are totally aligned with ours. Is there anything else that we can cover or go over that you wanted to talk to our audience about?
No, I think I'm just super excited to join the fight to make mental health more accessible in Utah. So I would encourage people to hop online and visit our website at bebetterutah.org. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. We actively have our 494 fundraiser up. So we encourage folks to donate if you can. All of the information's on the site. And again, please stop by and see us at FightCon. We are really excited to be part of this. And yeah, I appreciate being invited here and always love talking to you, Rob.
My pleasure. Well, thanks for coming. And we'll have all the information in the links and the bios and all the good stuff. So happy to hear from you and talk soon.
Great. Thanks. Bye.